Whether weight loss pills, liposuction, fad diets and drinks, or a number of other unreliable alternatives, we want to shed pounds quickly with little effort. The great news is you can get it fast and you can get it easily, but short of sucking the fat out of you through risky and expensive procedures, you're going to have to put in a bit work. While exercise will greatly increase the effectiveness of your weight loss program and comes with the highest recommendations, it's not necessary, and for those with an extremely busy lifestyle, not even an option. First, forget anything you've ever heard from a company trying to sell you a weight loss program, be it a pill, surgery, a drink, anything. Weight fluctuation comes from one thing and one thing alone: taking in more calories than your body expends in a day. In this guide, I'll take a look at where calories come from, what to avoid, tips for lowering your intake and some tricks to help you control your metabolism and lose weight more easily. It's all about the calories. For humans, caloric intake comes from 4 primary sources: fat, carbohydrates, protein, and alcohol. First, let's take a look at each source so we know how to focus our diet. Fats. Fats are the worst type of calorie you can consume, bar none. One thing to keep in the back of your head at all times is that fat is very high in calories. Every gram of fat consumed contains 9 calories. Compare this to the 4 calories per gram in carbohydrates and protein. If you ate a slab of pure fat, in comparison to a slab of pure sugar, you'd be consuming 2.25 times more calories for an equal weight portion. Although a bit gross, it illustrates an important point that with other sources of energy you can eat more and take in equal or fewer calories. That's only one of the benefits of staying away from fat, but since we're focusing on calories for now, I'll spare you the lecture on cholesterol and cardiovascular health. Fats were probably great for humans once upon a time during the good old days of cavemen who hunted for food and weren't afforded the luxury to consume regular meals. For them, fat was an important source of prolonged energy output during periods with no food source. For today's average American, this feature of fat no longer plays a critical role, and although some fats are essential to our survival, saturated fats are the norm in our society, and through this plan we'll get plenty of the essentials from some recommended food items. So for our purposes, I would recommend consuming as little fat as possible beyond those items. Carbohydrates. Carbohydrates, as stated before, contain 4 calories per gram. However, carbs, just like fats, come in a number of varieties from the very simple to complex. Carbohydrates are the main source of energy for human function as they are converted to glucose in our bloodstream. That glucose is used up in our every bodily function and movement. From the basic beating of our heart to the complex processes involved in lifting heavy weights, carbs represent our primary source of energy for work output. Carbohydrates exist on a continuum of complexity based on the ease with which they are broken down through our saliva, stomach and other bodily processes. Simple carbs are quickly and easily converted to glucose, while the more complex carbs remain in our stomach longer as they are broken down. The human body has evolved to know that it only needs a certain amount of glucose in most situations, so carbs which are simple and easy to convert accumulate in the bloodstream quickly and cause a spike in insulin production. Insulin is a hormone that encourages the excess glucose to be quickly converted into stored energy, or fat. In this way, simple carbohydrates can be a killer for those on a weight loss program because even though they may not represent a ton of calories, eating them often results in the production of more glucose than our bodies need at that particular moment. Simple carbohydrates are mainly sugars, such as sucrose, fructose and maltodextrin, and are commonly found in sodas, sugary sweets and other tantalizing items. Unfortunately, they only provide a quick, sugar fix, and result in lower average energy levels. For optimal weight loss, it is important to focus your diet on complex carbohydrates like those found in vegetables and whole grains. If you're interested in finding out how simple or complex a carbohydrate may be, many are ranked on the glycemic index, a resource for hypoglycemic and diabetic individuals who must carefully monitor their blood sugar throughout the day. By consuming more complex carbs, energy is converted slowly over the course of several hours rather than minutes, resulting in longer, more sustained energy and reduced appetite. As an extra benefit, many complex carbohydrates can be found in foods that contain a large volume of non-caloric material, which helps to satiate an individual for a longer period of time. Take for example green beans, of which a typical 80-gram sample contains a mere 25 calories, versus an equal weight in a simple sugar which contains 320 calories. Proteins, like carbohydrates, contain 4 calories per gram. They serve many functions in the body, but the most important for our purposes is producing muscle tissue and being converted into energy. When muscles fail, be it through lifting weights or running, they need to be rebuilt, and that process requires protein. If the conditions are ideal, these muscles rebuild stronger and bigger than their previous state. As muscle mass increases, so too does your basal metabolic rate. In other words, the more muscle you have, the more calories you burn. In fact, for every extra pound of muscle you gain, you burn roughly 50 calories more per day. This means that by building muscle through careful use of protein supplementation in your diet, you can increase your muscle mass and train your body to burn more calories. However, don't take in too much protein, or you'll risk storing it as fat as well. Your best bet is to focus on lean protein-laden foods such as turkey and chicken breast. Like green beans, these foods provide a great weight-to-calorie ratio and will fill you up for extended periods of time. Alcohol. Oh alcohol, how we love to hate you. Alcohol, unlike carbs or protein, contains 7 calories per gram. As you might imagine, the main source of alcohol calories comes through beer, wine and distilled spirits such as vodka. There are very few recommendations needed for alcohol consumption. The main rule to follow is this: consume alcohol in moderation. If you drink a lot of alcohol, not only are you more likely to binge eat due to lowered inhibitions and increased appetite as a direct result of intoxication, you are also putting your body in a state of natural catabolism, where it will convert protein from which your muscles are composed, into glucose for energy. This protein conversion leaves you with less muscle, and a lower level of inherent calorie burning, or a lower basal metabolic rate. If you're a binge drinker and can't live without alcohol, then I would recommend clear distilled spirits, as they are virtually absent of any other carbohydrate and are the lowest overall in terms of calories. However, don't mix these with sugary drinks or you'll completely remove their main attraction. The problem with heavy beers and sugary liquors is their high simple carbohydrate content. Compare the typical shot of vodka, which contains roughly 70 calories, and a typical heavy beer, which can contain as much as 170 calories, for an equal amount of, get you drunk, alcohol. I often hear from many people that they just don't know where to begin when trying to lose weight. Often they just don't feel like they have the energy to start at all. Well, that is all understandable, because when you feel bad you don't want to start anything or do anything for that matter. This is one example everyone can use. So, today I went and got a much-needed haircut. I was talking to my stylist and he was telling me how he feels so bad in the afternoon and how he can't sleep at night because he walks when he gets off of work and gets his second wind late in the evening. He also told me that he often skips breakfast or just eats a Pop-Tart or granola bar and often craves sugar or breads throughout the day. I asked him if he wanted to hear me tell him the truth about what he is doing wrong. If his situation sounds familiar to you, listen up. This is what I told him. The first thing he is doing wrong is skipping breakfast or eating Pop-Tarts or granola bars in the morning. I used to be a Pop-Tart sinner also, I fancied the s'mores ones. Anyway, he can't survive the day on that kind of food. It is primarily the reason for his cravings throughout the day. No matter how unhungry he is in the morning, he has to make sure he is eating something with substance. He has to drop the granola bar and Pop-Tart and make some quick eggs, or eat some kind of cheese or meat. I told him the opposite of what most people think they have to do to lose weight or get more energized. Eating rich foods such as eggs, cheese, or meat will give you much needed substance and curbs the appetite. The second thing for him is to break up his big lunch. He told me he eats a huge lunch and often skips dinner or eats something light. Eating a big lunch makes him sleepy and lethargic. If he takes the amount of food he eats during lunch and disperses it into snacks all day, he can keep his metabolism working and provide himself with a constant energy source. Snacking is not a bad thing. It can be a bad thing if he snacks on junk. Keep it whole and natural. The less refined and unprocessed the food, the better. The third thing is that he can't sleep at night because of his walk in the afternoon. This walk is his exercise and wakes him up and gets his blood flowing, preventing him from sleeping. He told me that he doesn't eat much for dinner. I told him to make sure he eats a regular meal after walking. He can eat a light dinner, but he has to eat some kind of dinner. We aren't talking about late-night grazing, but in the evening a dinner is important because it will be 8 hours more or less until he eats again. I also suggested that he split his walk up and walk a little in the morning and in the evening. This will also increase his metabolism. So instead of just working out once, he should try to get accustomed to doing a little more in the morning, so his body isn't so overwhelmed in the evening. When it is time to be winding down, remember we are all trying to make our bodies efficient. This means exercising, being active, and providing our bodies with proper fuel. People are social beings, so for many of us, it doesn't make sense to try and lose weight alone. Many people do better in a group program such as Weight Watchers. In fact, Weight Watchers has been one of the most successful weight loss programs around for many years now. It operates on a simple, yet ingenious formula that makes weight loss simple for the majority of people. The first element is the grading of foods according to points. The key is that it's a simple system. Different foods are given a different number of points based on their fat and calorie content, and you are given a daily allowance of points depending on how active you are and how much weight you want or need to lose. This means that you don't need to stick to pre-planned menus, you don't need to buy special foods or supplements, and you can eat the foods you love. There are no forbidden foods. This is very different from a lot of other diets and weight loss programs, which tend to target a particular type of food and blame it for everyone's weight problems. For people who subscribe to the low-carb approach to weight loss, simple carbohydrates are the enemy. For fitness guru, fat is the enemy. The problem is that all of these diets lose their appeal after you have been on several different ones, and they all tell you different things. In fact, as a society, we almost expect a new approach to eating to come along every year or so, just to confuse us. At Weight Watchers, though, they just let the numbers speak for themselves without judging the foods. Some foods are simply higher in calories, so if you want to eat them, you have to eat less in order to lose or maintain your weight. It's very simple. So, for example, if you want to plan to have dessert, you can cut back on some of your other food for the day, or just exercise a bit more. Another thing that makes Weight Watchers so successful is the group approach. Everyone comes to meetings together, a little bit like AA or any other support group. There, everyone is weighed in public, though there is no scolding or shaming. Psychologically, though, that really does make people try harder to lose weight. People know that if they slip up, everyone will know. Everyone will probably be very understanding, but by the same token, everyone is likely to applaud you when you do stick to the plan and lose weight. Weight Watchers is the original, but there are many other weight loss programs that are based on this group approach. It's very helpful to many of us, much as exercising with a friend can be much easier than doing it on your own. Basically, eating is a very social thing, and one of the reasons why people fail to lose weight may be that they feel the need to participate in the social aspect of eating. Weight loss groups deal with this need very constructively. You have the opportunity, on a regular basis, to be with a large group of people who are in the same boat, so to speak. Weight Watchers also has qualified counselors on hand to help you with any trouble you might be having with your weight loss plan. That kind of support is definitely well worth the very reasonable fee you pay for joining. Weight Watchers is a diet, not a way of life. You set goals, and when you meet them, you're finished, so to speak. However, one of the aims of this program is to teach you certain skills that you will be able to keep for life. These include a sense of portion control, because we are often served huge portions of food in restaurants. For example, some of us seem to have lost touch with what a reasonable portion of food looks like, or what it feels like to eat it. This, in and of itself, leads to a lot of weight problems. Weight Watchers and other similar weight loss programs help you reinstate the sense of portion control by limiting the amount of food you eat at a single sitting down to a more reasonable size. The problem with many diet and weight loss plans is that they take a one-size-fits-all approach that simply might not work for everyone. That's why the same diet that your friend might swear by may not work nearly as well for you. Actually, looking at it logically, this is hardly surprising. Everyone's metabolism and, even more importantly, everyone's habits are different. That's why it makes sense to have a diet and weight loss plan designed specifically for you. This is an idea that's rapidly catching on. Companies such as LA Weight Loss and several others are taking on the challenge of designing personal weight loss plans for each of their clients. After all, everyone's reasons for being overweight are different. For the most part, being overweight is based on bad habits. Some of us have the habit of eating late at night, while others are addicted to sweets or to fried food. You can try and eliminate the behavior, or course, but most often, that's easier said than done. A better approach might be to work around the behavior that is impeding your weight loss. For example, if you are one of those people who just can't go without dessert, you will do better if your weight loss plan includes a daily dose of sweets. There are many low-fat, fruit-based desserts that you can have without ruining your diet, or if you really crave a decadent dessert, you can cut calories elsewhere or up your exercise to make up for it. You are less likely to cheat and more likely to be successful with your diet if these habits can be integrated in your diet plan, and most of the time, they can. Here's another example. We've all heard about how successful the low-carb approach to eating can be for some people. By upping their intake of protein and eliminating all processed carbohydrates such as bread and pasta, many people have had spectacular results. However, if bread and pasta happen to be your favorite foods of all, if you were raised with them and can't picture living without them, you have little chance of being successful on a low-carb diet such as the Zone or Atkins. You would do better, most likely, if you can eat small amounts of the foods you love every day. Finally, there are some people who are overweight because they graze all day long rather than sitting down to regular meals at regular times. This can be one of the most destructive eating habits of all, because it makes it very difficult to measure or keep track of how much food you are actually consuming. If those are your habits, your chances of being successful on any diet plan that restricts you to just 3 meals a day are quite low. You'll constantly be wanting to snack, and you need a diet plan that allows you to do that. In fact, some dietitians feel that it's better to eat many smaller meals a day rather than a few large ones. If you have an organized approach to your snacking, there's no reason why you can't maintain these habits but change the types or amounts of food you eat for maximum weight loss. In short, the personalized approach to dieting and weight loss makes sense because everyone is different, and everyone has different obstacles to overcome. When you buy a diet book, though, chances are that you will learn about a one-size-fits-all type of dieting. If you go to one of the many centers that offers personalized diet plans, however, they will be able to design a plan for you that works with your eating style and habits, rather than against it. Combined with personalized counseling and regular weigh-ins, this approach to dieting has been very successful for many people. It's easier to minimize the harmful elements in our habits than it is to do away with the habits themselves. That having been said, it's also important to have an organized, well-laid-out plan that you can follow. Many weight problems occur precisely because people don't tend to have an organized approach to eating. When your plan is easy to follow and you have access to great advice in a supportive environment, chances are that you will be able to take off that weight. Because of our society's obsession with thinness, losing weight is a primary concern for many individuals, particularly women. Sometimes it's an obsession that goes too far. Many women with perfectly normal body weight consider themselves overweight, and this applies to young girls as well. It's very sad to see girls as young as 11 or 12 anxiously watching their weight. Over time, for many of us, it's just too much pressure. Janine Roth, an author who has written many books about self-regulated eating, says, "For every diet there is an equal and opposite binge." That is, over time dieting and obsessing about your weight can actually create a weight problem. Nobody can deal with the pressure of deprivation forever. Sooner or later, something's got to give. When it does, the result may be that you lose control of your eating, or, as the tragic stories of many anorexic girls will attest to, you lose control of your dieting. Janine Roth isn't alone in this way of thinking, either. Many experts are coming to believe that dieting just doesn't work. But if not dieting, then what? Self-regulated eating is one alternative that Roth and others recommend. If, like many women in our society, you have spent literally years of your life on a diet, you have probably lost track of what it feels like to eat for the most natural reason of all, because you happen to be hungry. This approach to weight loss aims at making eating natural again. It's very simple. If you're hungry, eat. If you're not hungry, don't eat. And when you're eating, as soon as you feel full, stop. That's all there is to it. For many of us, accustomed to restrictive diets, this may sound like the most unlikely way in the world to lose weight. As a matter of fact, it isn't. It may not make you lose weight quickly, in fact, some people even gain a little before they start to lose. But over the long term, because this is a natural way of eating, it will get your body back to its natural healthy weight. Of course, the weight that's natural and healthy for you may not bear any resemblance to the fashion models we see in magazines. In fact, studies have shown that less than 1% of women naturally have bodies that are proportioned like a fashion models, so maybe it's time for us all to make peace with the bodies that we do have. And that's exactly what the natural approach to eating can help you achieve. It's not a diet, in fact, it's even been called an anti-diet. You may assume that if you eat whatever you want whenever you're hungry, that you'll end up eating only unhealthy, high-fat foods. That may be true at first, but those who have gone through this process will attest to the fact that over time, your eating habits naturally become healthier. The first week or so, you may end up eating a lot of cookies or chips. Chances are that, after that, you'll crave vegetables or protein. It will all even out over time. In fact, scientific studies done with children have proven this very thing. The children in the study were allowed to select the foods they wanted to eat from a wide selection. At first, they all gravitated toward cake, chips and candy, probably because these were the foods that their parents restricted at home. After a day or so, however, they naturally switched to healthier foods. Over the span of a week, even though they were never told what to eat and what not to eat, virtually all the children ended up eating a nutritious, balanced diet. That's why the self-regulated eating plan does not have any forbidden foods. The thinking goes like this: if a food is forbidden, that will make you want it even more. When you finally get hold of it, you won't be able to stop. But if all foods are allowed, there's no need to obsess about any of them. You can just give your body whatever you feel it needs, and over time, this will lead to easy, natural weight loss. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and for more ways on how to lose weight, check out the link in the description.